So today we're going to talk about Drum Machine Designer. If you have kick samples, snare samples, hi-hat, crashes, etc., and you want to build your own custom drum kit to use in your projects, then Drum Machine Designer is a good way to do this. I'm actually going to show you how this works first, because if you used any of the Logic electronic drum kits, then you have been kind of exposed to this workflow before. So we're in Logic and
Track 1 classic electric piano group.
We've got classic electric piano here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the library. So if I hit Shift Y,
Search sound, search text field, blank.
drops me right in the search field in the library. When I press Shift Y, so now I'm going to VO right.
Library browser.
So library browser, interact with this.
Vintage electric piano.
And let's
Bass. Drum kit.
go down
Electronic drum kit.
to electronic drum kit. So let's go in here.
808 flex. Column 2 of 2.
And it doesn't matter. We'll stick to the 808 Flex kit for now. So I'm going to stop interacting with the library. So it just came out of the library. I'm going to VO right.
Inspector. Tracks group.
Tracks group, interact.
In tracks group. In tracks header group. In tracks track 1 808 flex group.
And we're back on the 808 Flex track. So now if I start playing
Tracks group. Untitled 1.
on this track, see, we have all these different parts of the kick, kick, snare, alternate snare, some toms, we got a clap, and a side stick or something. So we have all these different kit pieces, right? But if I do Option Accent to open the track stack,
Track 3 subkick 808 flex. Track 2 kick 1 808 flex.
see, track 2 is just the kick. So when I play on the keyboard, I can play the kick at any pitch that I want. Go down to track 3.
Track 3 subkick 808 flex.
I can play that any pitch I want. And, you can down an octave, go up an octave. So you can play same thing.
Track 4 snare 1 808 flex.
I can play the snare at any pitch. So you can, play a melody, or you can just find the right pitch that you want the snare at and record that in as part of your performance. If I go back to
Track 3 track 2 kick 1 808 flex.
the 808 Flex track, I can still play the entire drum kit. So if you're on the 808 Flex track, it lets you play the entire drum kit. If you're on any of the individual kit pieces track, like the kick or the snare or the sub kick or whatever, you'll be able to play that particular kit piece at any pitch you want up and down your keyboard. So I'm going to jump into the mixer here. So I'm just going to hit Command 2 to open a mixer in its own window.
808 flex.
And if we look at this, so we got the 808 Flex channel strip in the mixer selected. So I'm going to interact
In
with
808
this.
flex. Partially hidden. Channels.
And if I press VO home to jump to the top of this channel strip,
Setting button.
VO right,
Gain reduction meter. On. Off. EQ. Input button.
and this just says input. So I'm going to press Command Control F.
Space with Logic Pro containing Windows. Window sharing session button. Button. Logic Pro has new insert bar button. Drum Machine Designer button.
And now you can see the input is actually Drum Machine Designer. So Command Control F full screens the window. So if you're seeing stuff like insert, audio effect, instead of seeing the name of the actual instrument or plugins, then you can just press Command Control F to full screen the window. All right, so the 808 Flex track is using Drum Machine Designer, but if I stop interacting with
808
this,
flex. Channel kick 1 808 flex. Channel strip group.
and I just went down to the kick 1 channel strip, and if I
Kick
interact
1
with
808 flex.
this,
Channel strip.
same deal, VO home,
Kick 1 808 flex. Button.
VO right, I want to see what instrument I'm using on this track.
Gain reduction meter. Off. On. EQ button. MIDI plugin button. Q sampler group.
And you see this says Q sampler. So this is using the quick sampler. And so what you'll notice is I'll go to the sub
Kick
kick,
1 808 flex. Channel strip group.
just stop interacting with that, VO right.
Sub kick 808 flex. Channel strip group.
We're going to interact with the sub kick channel strip here.
In sub kick 808 flex. Channel strip group. 31 items. Sub kick 808 flex. Name. Text.
VO home to jump to the top.
Sub kick 808 flex. Button.
The channel strip there.
Gain reduction meter.
And
Off. Switch.
VO right.
On. EQ button. MIDI plugin button. Q sampler group.
You see this is using Q sampler. So quick sampler is what all of these individual kit pieces are using. But if you look at the main track, you see Drum Machine Designer, right? And so essentially what happens is every time you load a sample into Drum Machine Designer, it creates an instance of quick sampler that is playing that instrument. So if you play on the Drum Machine Designer track, it lets you play your entire kit as one instrument, kick, snare, etc., etc. But if you go to any of the quick sampler tracks, it behaves like quick sampler and lets you play that particular kit piece up and down the keyboard. So how can you create your own? So there's a couple different ways you can do this. I'm going to close the mixer here. So Command W.
Logic Pro. Untitled track 2 kick 1-800 flex. Track 1-800 flex. Group.
Let's close this track stack. Option Accent to close the track stack.
Track 1-800 flex. Group.
So now
Track 1-800 flex.
you see we just have the 808 flex. If I hit Shift Y to jump back into the library search field.
Search sound. Search text field. Blank.
I'm just going to right arrow
Library. Browser.
over to browser, interact
Electronic
with
drum
that.
kit. User channel strip settings. Bass. Drum kit. Electronic drum kit.
Go down to electronic drum kit and VO right.
808 flex. Column 2 of 2.
Okay, so if I VO down,
Above and beyond. Absolute 0.
see these are all the different kits that we can choose. I'm going to hit VO Shift F3.
Cursor tracking off.
That turns cursor tracking off and lets me scroll through this library a lot faster.
Abstract thought.
So I'm just holding down VO and the down arrow.
Deep end. Deep mystery. Deep tech. Tempo. Depth charge. Doing double drop. Drum synth kit. Dust Bowl. Dusty road. East side dreams. Found sound. Future up. Future. Grimy funk. Future. Found sound. Fluid shadow. Empty kit.
Right here, this one that says empty kit, I'm going to VO up.
Electronic pop.
I'm going to turn on.
Cursor tracking on.
Just to VO Shift F3 again to turn cursor tracking back on. So now when I VO down arrow,
Empty kit.
it will actually select empty kit. So if we go back over to the track headers, stop interacting with the library, VO right.
Inspector. Group. Tracks. Group. In tracks. Group.
Interact
2
with-
items. Tracks. Group. Tracks. Group. In track. Tracks time. Tracks header. Group. In tracks. Track 1-800 flex. Group.
All right. So this still says 808
1-800
flex,
flex,
but if I hit Option Accent,
Track 2 inst 1. Group.
you see it just says
Track 2 inst 1. Group.
inst 1,
Track 2 inst 1. Group.
and that's the only thing that it gives me, right? Because
1-800 flex,
this is an empty drum machine designer kit. So you can do it this way. You can, create a software instrument track, go into the library, go to electronic drum kits, and then go down to empty kit, and you'll have a blank track with Drum Machine Designer loaded up for you, ready to go.
Track 1-800 flex. Track 1-800 flex. Group.
Go ahead and collapse this. I'll show you the other way you can do this. So if you just create a software instrument track, Command Option S.
Track 3 classic electric piano. Track 3 classic electric piano. Track 3 classic electric piano.
So you see we have this software instrument track here, classic electric piano, right? And I like to blank these tracks out, so I'm just going to hit Command Option Return, make it a completely blank track. I'm going to go into the inspector.
Auto tracks. Group. Inspector. Group. In inspector. Group. 7 items. Collapse. Disclosure triangle.
I'm just going to jump to the end here where we have the mixer layout area, so VO end.
Mixer. Layout area.
And once again, that's VO FN and the right arrow for VO end if you're on a laptop. All right, I'm going to interact with this.
Mixer. Layout area. 2 items. Classic electric piano. Partially hidden. Channel strip group.
And if you're on that version of Logic where it tries to kick you out of this channel strip whenever you interact with it, then just turn off cursor track and VO
Cursor
Shift
tracking off.
F3.
In classic electric piano.
VO home.
On. Library indicator. Null. Button.
VO right.
Setting. Button. Gain reduction meter. Off. EQ. MIDI plugin. Button. Off. Library indicator. Null. Instrument. Button.
So instrument is what we're looking for. And this is where we can choose Drum Machine Designer as our instrument for the track. So if I VO space on this,
Menu. 30. Check mark. No plugin. Recent. Dim. ES1. Synth. ML drums. Sub. Empty power drum. Complete contra. Quick sampler. Alchemy. Subnet. Drum kit designer. Drum synth. Submenu. EFM1. ESE. Ensemble. ESM. Monophone. ESP. Poly. ES1. Synth. ES2. Synthesis. Epic 20 PS. Quick sampler. Single. Retro synth. Subnet. Sample alchemy. Sub. Sampler. Multi. Sculpture. Modeling. Studio horns. Sub. Studio strings. Sub. Ultra beat. Drum machine. Vintage V3 organ. Submenu. Vintage clap. Submenu. Vintage electric piano. Sub. Vintage mellotron. Sub. Utility. Submenu. Drum machine designer.
and there we have Drum Machine Designer. So if I VO space,
Closing menu. Dialog. Empty dialog.
that will load up Drum Machine Designer. So you can do it one of two ways. Like I said, you can just go into the library, go to electronic drums, and go to where it says empty kit, or you can just create a software instrument track, make it blank with Command Option Return, and then go ahead and load Drum Machine Designer as the instrument on that. So if I close this, I'm just going to close this window.
Now in Untitled 1.
So we're back on the track header.
Track 3 empty kit.
So you see track 3 is also called empty kit, and that's part of the reason I didn't rename track 1 to be empty kit. I just left it as 808 flex, even though it's now the empty kit on there. But that way we can, differentiate between the two. So
Track 1 808 flex.
that is the one that we just went into the library and found empty kit from in the library.
Track 3 empty kit.
This is the one that we just created a new software instrument track, made it blank, and then put Drum Machine Designer as the instrument on there. And if I hit Option Accent to open this track stack, you see just like the other one,
Track 4 is 1.
we have track 4, which is inst 1. So it already has one blank instrument track preloaded for us. All right, so how do we get our sounds in here? So what we're going to do is we're going to find the folders with our samples in Finder. And we're going to be able to use the mouse down and mouse up feature of a VoiceOver to drag those samples from Finder into Drum Machine Designer. So I'm going to hit Option Accent to collapse this again. So we unempty kit, and what I want to do is I just want to open up the Drum Machine Designer. So I have the plugin window open. So I'm just going to go back into the inspector. So stop interacting.
Library group. Control bar, toolbar. Library group, inspector group.
Go into the inspector.
7 items. Collapse. Disclosure triangle.
Jump to the end with VO end.
Mixer layout area.
Interact with the mixer layout area.
Empty kit. Selected partially hidden. Channel strip group.
Interact with empty
kit. Selected partially hidden. Channel strip group. 17 items. Empty kit. Name. Text.
VO home to jump to the top of this window.
Library indicator. Empty kit button.
VO right.
Empty kit. Gain reduction meter. Off. Off. EQ. Drum Machine Designer button.
There we go. Drum Machine Designer. You can't interact with this, so you just VO space on it.
Dialog. Empty kit. Dialog.
It brings up the Drum Machine Designer window. So if I VO right.
Empty kit. Kit controls button. Scroll area.
This scroll area is what we're looking for. And if I interact with the scroll area,
C2.
You see you have all these different kit pieces. C2.
G1.
G1. I'm doing VO down arrow right now.
E1.
E1.
Ins1. C1.
C1. So C1 by default is going to be your kick, right? And so what we want to do is we want to drag, say, our kick sample onto C1. Now, you don't have to do this. You can drag them on and put them on any key, but I would try to keep them consecutive or keep them next to each other, like C1, D1, E1, etc., etc., etc. Now, a brief note about what does C1, D1, C2, E2, all of that means. So if you have an 88 key MIDI keyboard, it goes from C-2 to G8. So C-2, D-2, E-2, you know, all the way up to C-1, D-1, E-1, F-1, G-1, A-1, B-1 to C0, D0, E0, etc. to then C1, D1, E1, etc. So somewhere around the middle of your keyboard, right? If you're using something like, say, the M32, which is a really small keyboard, if you try to play and you don't find it, you may have to go down to the lower octave or go up to the higher octave until you find like a key that triggers C1. What you can do, and what I like to do, is because I like to stick to, you know, general MIDI, which, you know, your kick is on C1, your snares are on D1 and E1, your claps on D sharp 1, you know, et cetera, et cetera. What I will do sometimes is I'll pull up a drum kit on the software instrument track. And once you find like where, you know, your keyboard is triggering the kick and the snare and all that stuff, now you know that you have your keyboard in the right range. So then when you start doing this, you'll be able to trigger the samples from this accordingly. I don't have an 88 key keyboard, so that's kind of how I find the right range. Now, that kind of hopefully explains what this whole thing about C1, D1 is. It's just the range of keys from the lowest note on an 88 key keyboard to the highest note on the 88 key keyboard. And then, as I said, it starts from C-2. So it goes C-2, C-1, C0, C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, C6, C7, C8, all the way up to G8 being the highest note usually. All right, so now that we've covered that, let's talk about how to drag something in here. So I'm going to leave this window open. Hit Command H to hide logic.
Now in Tom's window, toolbar.
And now I'm in the folder where I have my samples. So I'm just going to
list one item select Be Rich Drums samples avocado. Selected folder.
I want this folder for now.
List one item selected. Be Rich Drums _dat _kick _wheel _
Another thing you can do, by the way, when you're in Finder and you're on an audio file, if you hit the space bar, it will play that audio file for you. This is called preview. So it's just previewing the file.
Now in quick look window. Be Rich Drums _dat _kick _wheel _thicc _doe _dot
So you heard it play that kick there. If I down arrow,
Be Rich Drums effects clap block.
You hear it play that clap.
Be Rich Drums clap with 118 BPM lock. Be Rich Drums maybe it's 2 snares or 10 watt.
Yeah, so you can hear all these different samples being played. I'm going to hit escape to close this, and I'm also going to turn my cursor tracking back on because I never turned that back on. So VO Shift F3.
Cursor tracking on.
All right, so Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find that that kick sample, right? I'm going to VO Shift Command and spacebar to mouse down.
Mouse down on. Waveform audio.
And now you can do Command Tab to go back to Logic, but what I find works really well for this is using VO F1 twice quickly to bring up the application chooser and switching directly to the Logic window I want from there. So if you do VO and F1 twice quickly, it'll bring up the application chooser. If you're on a laptop that has a touch bar, then just do VO FN and the number 1 twice quickly. So let's go ahead and do that to bring up the application chooser.
Finder, application chooser menu, 5 items.
And I'm going to down arrow to Logic.
System dialogs, menu, OBS, preview, Finder, current, boombox, menu, Logic Pro, menu, Logic Pro, menu.
Logic Pro, there we go. If I VO right.
Logic Pro menu, 3 items, go to Logic Pro. Close from Logic Pro.
This one that says close from Logic Pro, that is our Drum Machine Designer window. So if I just VO space on this, it'll bring Drum Machine Designer to the front immediately.
Dialog, C1, kick 1, empty kit, Drum Machine Designer.
And you see we're still on that C1. So now I'm just going to VO Shift Command space again to mouse up.
Mouse up on dialog, C1.
And what it will do is it should drag that sample over to land right on C1. So if I bring up my keyboard here.
Close button, dialog.
And I hit C1. You hear me playing that kick sample right now. All right. So let's hide Logic again.
Finder, Drum Samples Avocado, window.
We're back in Finder. Once again, I just hit Command H to hide Logic. And let's grab that snare. And I'm going to put this snare on E1 because I have a different snare I want to put on D1. So same deal, VO, Command, Shift, and spacebar to mouse down.
Mouse down on. Waveform audio.
VO F1 twice quickly, or VO FN and the number 1 if you're on a laptop with a touch bar.
Finder, application chooser menu, 5 items.
Bring up Logic from this
System
list.
dialogs, Logic Pro, preview, Finder, current, Logic Pro, previous, menu.
So just VO down arrow to Logic Pro, VO
Logic Pro
right.
menu, 3 items, go to Logic Pro. Close from Logic Pro.
And we want that window that says close, so I'm just going to VO space.
Window, dialog. Empty kit. Drum Machine Designer. Window sharing session button. Logic Pro has new dialog.
And what I forgot to do was put me on E1 first. I'm just going to see if I can find E1
Close
here.
button. Empty kit.
It's
Kit controls
me on.
Scroll area.
There we go. Scroll area. Interact with
Scroll area.
that.
50 items. Add quick sampler. Add quick sampler. Add quick sampler. C2. Perk 5.
C2.
G music chart sign 1.
I'm just going to down arrow.
E1. Snare 2.
E1. There we go. So VO Command Shift space to mouse up.
Mouse up on dialog.
And it should drag
E1.
that sample over to be on E1. And I just played that E key on my keyboard. Now I'm going to put the clap on D sharp 1.
Drums underscore dot underscore kick underscore C1.
That's
Drums underscore
C1.
E1. Image. Output.
So I'm just doing VO right arrow from E1.
C3.
C3. VO down.
C3. C3.
VO up. Okay.
Image. Action pop-up menu. Choose a F1.
F1.
C1.
VO down. C1.
C music chart sign 1. F1.
C sharp 1.
C1. C music chart sign 1. F1. C1. C music chart sign 1.
So
Input.
this is the
C music chart sign
annoying part about this for us is sometimes we got to hunt around to find the note
F1.
we want.
F1. C2. F1. F1. C1. Image. Output. C music chart sign 1. C music chart sign 1. C music chart sign 1. Image.
C sharp 1.
Action pop-up menu. Choose a D1.
D1.
D1. F1.
F1.
F1. D1.
So where is D
Output.
sharp 1?
D1. Image. Action pop-up menu. Choose D1.
I found
D music chart sign
D1.
1.
There we go. D sharp.
G1. D1. D music chart sign 1.
D sharp 1. So I have that one in focus. I'm going to hide Logic again, Command H.
Hide Logic Pro.
And let's grab the clap from this folder.
Drums underscore EFX underscore clap underscore verb waveform audio.
So I think that's the one.
Drums underscore dat underscore kick underscore wheel underscore drums underscore EFX underscore clap underscore verb waveform
And if
audio.
I hit spacebar,
Drums underscore EFX underscore clap underscore verb
that's the clap I want.
Now in drums.
So I just hit escape.
Drums underscore EFX underscore clap underscore verb waveform audio.
All right, there it is. I got it selected. VO Command Shift Space to mouse
Mouse down on.
down.
Drums underscore EFX underscore clap underscore verb waveform audio.
VO F1 twice quickly.
Finder. Application chooser menu. 5 items.
Let's VO down to Logic.
System dialogs menu. Logic Pro. Previous menu.
VO right.
Logic Pro menu. 3 items. Go to Logic Pro.
And then we're looking for the close one.
Close from Logic Pro.
VO space.
Dialog. D1. Clap 1. Window. Dialog. Window sharing session button. Window sharing session button. Empty kit. Drum Machine Designer.
And it was kept saying D1, so I don't think it was on D sharp
Window sharing session
1.
button. Close button. Dialog.
So let's
Close
see.
button. Empty kit. Kit controls button. Scroll area. In scroll area. G music chart sign 1. Pedal pivot. B rich drums underscore maybe underscore. B rich drums underscore maybe C2. Perk 5. C music chart sign 2. Crash. D2. Shaker 2. A music chart sign 1. Open pivot. F music chart sign 1. D1. Snare 1. D1. Snare 1. C music chart sign 1. Rim. C music chart sign 1. Add quick sampler. F1. Perk 1. Add quick sampler. A1. Perk 3. Add quick sampler. C music chart sign 2. Add quick sampler. Add quick sampler. C2. Perk 5. Add quick sampler. Add quick sampler. C2. Perk 5. C music chart sign 2. D2. Shaker 2. A music chart sign 1. Open pivot. A1. Perk 3. G music chart sign 1. Pedal pivot. A1. Perk 3. G music chart sign 1. Pedal pivot. Add quick sampler. G music chart sign 1. Pedal pivot. B rich drums underscore maybe underscore it's underscore 2 underscore snares underscore 10. C music chart sign 2. Crash. D2. Shaker 2. D music chart sign 2. Right.
That's D sharp 2.
D1. Perk 4. G1. Perk 2. D1. Clap 1. D music chart sign 1. Clap 1. Add quick sampler. D music chart sign 1. Clap 1.
There we go. D sharp 1 clap. So I'm going to mouse up on that.
Mouse up on dialog. D1.
And now, so I have the kick on C1, one of the snares on E1, and that clap. So now, let's put a different snare on D1. Can we find D1 again?
Input. Solo button. Used to hear the sound like mute button. Used to D1.
D1, look at that.
F1. D1.
D1. All right, we got D1 selected, so let's hide this.
Hide Logic Pro.
And I'm going to come out of this folder.
B rich drum samples avocado. B rich drums avocat light. Folder.
Let's
Oz,
go
group, 1 of 10.
here.
Claps. Folder. Drum loops. Folder. Hi-hats. Folder.
I'm just going
Snares. Folder.
to jump down to snares. There we go.
Beyond underscore snare underscore 1 watt. Group. 1 of the left. Beyond underscore snare underscore sweet watt. Waveform audio. Beyond underscore y underscore snare underscore verb underscore 2 watt. Waveform audio.
Y verb snare 2. All right, that's the one I want. So VO command shift space.
Mouse down on. Beyond underscore y underscore snare underscore verb underscore 2 watt. Waveform audio.
Mouse down on that. VO F1 twice quickly for application chooser.
Finder. Application chooser menu. 5 items. System dialogs. Menu. Logic Pro. Previous. Menu.
And then Logic Pro.
Logic Pro menu. 3 items. Go to Logic Pro.
VO right. VO down.
Close from Logic Pro.
Close.
Dialog. D1. With close button. Dialog.
And I think we're still on D1.
Scroll area. In scroll area.
Interact with
61
the
items.
scroll
C2.
area.
Per 5.
C2.
G music chart sign 1.
Usually it keeps my focus, I think, because I'm capturing my screen to record this. It sometimes overlaying over it and it's kind of shifting the focus. So when you're doing this, if you find a note and then you switch back to Logic, it should stay focused on that note. And I'm just doing like VO left, VO right, VO up, VO down, that
F2,
sort
K2.
of thing.
E2. Snare 3. D music chart sign 1. Clap 1.
That's D sharp 1.
D music chart sign 1. Clap 1. Replace with beyond underscore y underscore snare. G1. Perk 2.
G1.
Add quick sampler. B1. Perk 4. Add quick sampler. D music chart sign 2. Right. Add quick sampler. Add quick sampler. Add quick sampler. D music chart sign 2. B1. Perk 4. G1. Perk 2. B rich drums underscore EFX. B rich drums underscore B3. Shakir. A music chart sign 3. America. A 3. Cabasa.
I'm doing VO
G music chart
left.
sign 3. LW. G2. FX1. F music chart sign 2. Shaker 1. F2. Kick 2.
F2.
E2. Snare 3. D music chart sign 1. Clap 1.
And you see, sometimes it does tell you what note or what kit piece user is on that MIDI note as well.
D1. Snare 1.
There we go, D1.
Mouse up on dialog. D1.
VO command shift space. So I have 1 kick, 2 snares, and a clap. And so I can put like toms on F and G and all that stuff if I really wanted to as well. Let's bring in like a hi-hat or something. So let's see what we have for cymbals here. So I'm going to hide, actually let me find F1.
Image.
It actually doesn't really matter in my case because I keep having to look for it again when I come back over. So I'm just going to hide Logic again, Command H.
Finder. Snares. Window. Beyond
Puts
underscore.
me in Finder.
Snares. Group. Synth loops. Folder. Toms. Folder. Synth
Let's
loop. Snares.
see,
Percussion.
do we
Mini songs.
have
Kicks. Folder.
any
Hi-hats. Folder.
hats?
Abo underscore hat underscore 1 watt. Group.
Let's see.
Abo underscore hat underscore 1 watt. Abu hat 2 watt. Abu hat with 117 BPM 2 watt. Abu hat 2 watt. Abu hat with 117 BPM 2 watt.
So see, if you bring in that sample every time you hit it, you're going to get 2 hi-hat hits because that sample has 2 hits on it.
Metallic hat watt. Thin metallic hat watt.
I think that's it, thin metallic hats. I'm going to hit escape
Now in. Hi-hats. With.
because I was just previewing the sounds
Abo underscore
there.
hat underscore 1 watt. Waveform audio. Abo underscore hat underscore 1 watt. Wave. Abo underscore hat underscore 1 watt. Abo underscore hat underscore 1 watt. Abo underscore hat. Abo underscore hat underscore 1. Abo underscore hat underscore 2 watt. Waveform audio. Abo underscore metallic. Thin underscore metallic underscore hat watt.
There
Waveform
we
audio.
go. So VO command just space the mouse down.
Mouse down on. Thin underscore metallic underscore hat watt. Waveform audio.
Jump back over to Logic here.
Finder. Application chooser menu. 5 items. System dialogs. Menu. Logic Pro. Previous. Menu.
Logic Pro.
Logic Pro menu. Close from Logic Pro.
There we go. Close. That's what we want.
Close button. Dialog. Empty kit. Close button.
And
Empty kit. Dialog. Window sharing session button. Button. Window sharing session button.
of course that got in the way.
Logic Pro. Application chooser menu. 5 items. System dialog. Finder. Previous menu. Logic Pro. Current. Logic Pro. Window from Logic Pro. Close from Logic Pro. Dialog. Kit controls button. Empty kit. Kit controls button. Scroll area.
Scroll area. Interact with that.
In scroll area. 71 items. C2. Per 5.
And then let's put this hi-hat on F#1.
Add quick sampler. C2. Per 5.
So let's find...
G music chart sign 1. Pedal hit. G music chart sign 1. Pedal hit.
I'm just going to put it on G# because I mean it's a hi-hat pedal. So VO shift command space.
Mouse up on dialog. G1.
And now if I play G#, and what I will show you, I'll close this for now, but this process continues. You can go ahead and add toms and anything else you want to add to this kit, right? So I'm going to go ahead and close this window for now with Command W.
Now in Untitled 1 Logic.
And
track free empty kit.
So we have track free empty kit, right? And so now Option Accent to open a track stack.
Tracks group.
You see,
track 4 rich drum stack kit real THICC do.
It names all of these based on the sample.
Track free empty kit. Track 4 rich drum stack kit real THICC do.
So this lets me play the kick up and down the keyboard. I can take this down to a lower octave and play this kick at a lower octave. Same thing.
Track 5 rich drums, maybe it's 2 snares or 10.
With the snare. So you see, I'd have to actually transpose this up to get to something as close to the actual pitch. So you can do something like that, or just playing this snare you want on its own track. And so you can go in and rename these and whatnot as well. Like into each of these quick sampler instances, you can turn flex on if you don't want it to shorten or make them longer or faster as it pitches them up. You can go in and turn flex on. You can also, switch it to like classic mode or one-shot mode. I wouldn't really mess with classic mode or one-shot mode unless you bring it in like a long sample, like an 808 sample or something like that, or a sub kick that you might not want it to play the whole long 808. So then you might want to switch it to where it stops playing the sample when you let go of the key. I have another tutorial on that, so I will link to that. But basically, you open up Quick Sampler and you can VLCR the window, and you can make changes. So I'll link to that tutorial in the description as well.
Track free empty kit.
I just went back up to that empty kit track. If you want to save this as a patch in a library so you can pull it up in the future. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to rename this track.
LB on. Also scripted application. Dialog. Rename track. Empty kit. Content selected. Edit text.
I'm going to name it
Selection replace. Cat B. Cat R. I.
Rich.
C. H. B rich. Cat K. I. T.
Hit.
Kit. Logic Pro. Untitled 1 Logics. Untitled 1. Tracks. Window. Tracks. Group.
All right.
Track 4 B rich. Track 3 bridge kit.
And you see it's called a bridge kick. So we got this named, and same deal. If I want to save this in the library, I can jump into the library. So just hit Shift Y.
Search sound, search text field, blank.
That puts me in a search field in the library. Hit VO end.
Save button.
That jumps me to the save button at the end of the library window. So I'm going to VO space on this.
B rich kit patch. B rich kit is selected. Save as. Edit text. Save as.
And you see it's going to give it the name Be Rich Patch,
Back,
right?
dim button. Forward. Dim. Column view. Menu button.
So just jump to the end of this
Save
window
button.
and
Save
hit
button.
save.
Now in Untitled 1 Logics. Untitled 1. Tracks. Window. Tools. Pop-up button.
Okay, so now you got that saved in the library. So you can pull this up and use this again in future projects. So I'm going to close this
Bypass button.
project.
B rich drums underscore maybe underscore it's underscore 2. Bypass button. B rich drums underscore data. Don't save button.
Yeah,
Cancel button. Don't save button.
Don't save. I'm not even going to save that project. So now I'm going to create a new project.
In new track. Dialog. 1. Content selected. Number of tracks to create. 1. Content select. Cancel button. 1. Contents create new track. MIDI. External MIDI. Group.
Let's select
Pattern. Software
that one.
Create. Default button.
Create. So now we'll just have
Closing
a
dialog control bar. Toolbar.
new...
Library. Group. Inspector. Tracks. Group. Tracks. In track. Track. Tracks. Track. In tracks. Tracks time. Tracks header. Group. In track 1 tough kit. Group.
All right, so we got this new track here. Shift Y to go into
Search
the
sound. Search text field.
library.
Blank. Library. Browser. Electron. User channel strip settings. User patches.
And let's go to user
B rich kit. Column 2 of
patches.
2.
Be Rich Kit.
Audit
There
library.
we
Audit library.
go.
Group. Inspector. Tracks. Group. Tracks. Group. In track. Tracks. Group. Tracks. In track. Tracks. Tracks header. Tracks contents. Group. Tracks header. In track 1 bridge kit. Group.
And now I can use this kit. So
Tracks.
bring
Group.
up the
Untitled 1 Logics.
keyboard.
Untitled 1. Tracks. Window.
There we go. So I can actually record something. I can bring up the note repeater.
Note repeat dialog.
And now I can play in those hi-hat rolls or whatever I want to do, like you would do normally with any other
Close.
kit.
Close button. Now
So, all right. That's pretty much a basic overview of getting started with the Drum Machine Designer. I plan to do some more tutorials going in depth with some other stuff. So if you got any follow-up questions, that will help me know what sort of stuff to tackle next in some of the follow-up tutorials to this. And, you know, we'll just basically keep adding to this Drum Machine Designer knowledge and tutorials over time. So let me know in the comments below what sort of stuff you'd like to see in a follow-up. If you got any questions about Drum Machine Designer, but hopefully this gets you started going, building, customizing, creating your own custom kits with all sorts of samples. As I always say, until next time, happy recording.